Based on the text, both authors would most likely agree with which statement. Text 1. French Impressionist artist Edgar Degas insisted that his paintings be kept in their original frames after they were sold. Like many Impressionist painters, Degas used painted frames that stood in contrast to the gold frames frequently seen at the Paris Salon, a prestigious art exhibition that was sponsored by the French government and promoted traditional painting styles. Impressionist painters likely chose these colorful frames to distinguish themselves from what was considered conventional at the time. Text 2. Impressionist painters often focused on the interplay of color and light in their works. As such, those Impressionists who placed their works in painted frames instead of the more traditional gold ones did so for aesthetic reasons. A frame's color was likely chosen because it would harmonize with the colors or subjects in a painting. Gold, conversely, could distract from the subtleties in a painted scene. So in text 1, the author highlights how the French Impressionist painter Edgar Degas insisted that his paintings were kept in their original frames. And this is like many other Impressionist painters because they used painted frames which stood in contrast to the gold frames frequently seen at the Paris Salon. And that Impressionist painters chose these colorful frames to distinguish themselves from what was conventional at the time. And in text 2, the focus is on how the Impressionist painters focused on the interplay of color and light, and that they typically had their works placed in painted frames instead of the more traditional gold ones. And that this is because the frame's color was chosen to harmonize with the colors of or subjects in a painting. And now with that, let's look at the answer choices. A. Gold frames were considered especially desirable by those who purchased works from Impressionist painters. This is incorrect because this isn't mentioned in either of the texts, because both texts focuses on how Impressionist painters didn't use gold frames, but instead painted frames. So the fact that option choice A highlights how gold frames were considered especially desirable is wrong. So we can eliminate option choice A. B. The colors in an Impressionist painting were often chosen to complement the colors of the frame it would be placed in. This is incorrect because looking at text 2 we can clearly see that it says here that the frame's color was likely chosen because it would harmonize with the colors or subject in a painting. So it's highlighting how the frame is chosen based on the painting, not the other way around, which is highlighted in option choice B, because option choice B says that the colors in the painting were chosen to complement the colors of the frame. But this is not true because in text 2 it highlights the opposite. So with that we can eliminate option choice B. C. Many Impressionist painters were intentional about the frames they selected for their works. This seems to be the correct answer because both texts highlight how many Impressionist painters use painted frames instead of gold frames. And in text 2 specifically, it highlights how they chose these painted frames instead of gold frames because they wanted the frame's color to harmonize with the color or subject in a painting. So overall, C seems to be the correct answer. D. Degas's perverse framing style was different from that of most Impressionist painters. This is incorrect because both texts clearly highlight how Degas' painted frames were like many other Impressionist painters. So it highlights how Degas and Impressionist painters both used painted frames. So highlighting that Degas' preferred style of framing was different from other Impressionist painters is wrong, and we can eliminate D. And so the correct answer is C.